My name is Sasha Cagen. I'm a life coach, and I've been studying self-marriage for 20 years. I decided to marry myself at 40 because I wanted to do something meaningful and really pledge to love myself no matter what. I got married with a small group of friends. I got married to myself in the Japanese gardens in Buenos Aires. I got my self-engagement necklace the day of at a gas station. My self-marriage cost about $100. In my work as a life coach, I have had the pleasure of officiating about a dozen self-marriage ceremonies. I do not believe that self-marriage is selfish. In fact, I believe the opposite, that the more you take care of yourself, the better you will be for everyone else in your life.
Well, we're back talking about self-marriage. You just saw my next guest, Sasha, talk about why she chose to marry herself at 40. And she's not alone. Last segment, we spoke with Danni, who proudly said, "I do," to herself on her 30th birthday. Now, in response to criticism about self-marriage, Danni says, well, why wouldn't you want to celebrate yourself? I agree with that. It's just some people say, why go to this level of having a ceremony? Does that make a mockery of marriage to another person? And so some people just don't agree.
I'm John McEntee, the founder of The Right Stuff, the dating app for conservatives. The mission is to bring people together that have shared values. The biggest deal breaker in the past when it came to dating was always religion, but now it's political affiliation. Marriage is a sacrament. I think the overwhelming majority of conservatives believe that it's a relationship between a man and a woman, but I know all conservatives believe it is between two people. I feel like self-marriage is not a real thing, and I feel like it's making a mockery of a very sacred thing. I think it's just probably a cry for attention. If you're marrying yourself, you're being very self-centered. People are too focused on themselves. If they were more focused on their relationships with other people, more people would come into their life. They would have more opportunities with relationships. I think a lot of people in society don't want to put in the work. We need to encourage people to have children in the country. I'm in favor of women in the workforce, but I also think when it comes to marriage, I think people are waiting too long. Right now, people think they can just name something and that defines it. If I'm playing in the backyard with my nephews, we call it the Super Bowl. That doesn't make it the Super Bowl. And calling polygamy a marriage does not make it a marriage.
Well, joining us is John McEntee, the founder and CEO of The Right Stuff, a dating app for conservatives. And also joining us is Sasha Cagen, a life coach with a focus on women over 40 and author of Quirky Alone, a manifesto for uncompromising romantics, who has been studying self-marriage for over 20 years and has actually officiated over a dozen self-weddings. So thank both of you for being here. Now, John also served as the director of the White House Presidential Personnel Office during the Trump administration. You've got a problem with this. What's your problem with it?
My problem is that it's making a mockery of a very sacred thing. I think if you want to celebrate yourself, that's great. I just think there are other ways to do it.
Yeah.
That's not your business.
Just spit it out. Just tell it what you think.
I just think that you're like deeply invested in how people like celebrate themselves, and that's why people are doing it, because I think that self-love allows us to give to our communities. When you have a full cup, you have extra to give. And so I don't think that you can put a limit on how me, you, Dr. Phil celebrates themselves. We didn't spend your money.
Right. Yeah, so I think there's some institutions in this country that we're very quick to tear down without realizing why they're there in the first place. I think 10 years ago, conservatives were called crazy when they said, this will lead to people marrying themselves. This will lead to people marrying multiple people, marrying animals, marrying objects. And I think we just have to be very careful with how we're using terms and what we're defining as marriage.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.